Hello, everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. How is everyone doing this evening? Happy and blessed Monday, and welcome back to the Welcome to Asgard podcast, episode 535, in fact, where tonight, of course, we're going to talk the box office from the weekend, because a lot of things have happened, a lot of changes have happened in the prospects of a couple of movies, and there's been a lot of discussion about many of these things. We'll, of course, also talk about all the topics that y'all wish to talk about, including the fact that it is still Christmas, so a Merry Christmas out there to everyone. Remember that the 12 days of Christmas are the 12 days of Christmas, so Christmas Day on through the Feast of the Epiphany on January the 6th. Unfortunately, that date now has a very different connotation in our world. However, traditionally, it has always been understood to be the Feast of the Epiphany. So please continue to say Merry Christmas, continue to celebrate the Christmas season, the Christmas celebration of the birth of Christ in our own preparations for our own personal ends, whenever those might actually be. And it's still a time for cheer, for the light being brought into the world. And as such, we are still very much in a gift-giving mood, as anyone who was here last stream may have known. So there is another goal that has been now set in the YouTube chat. So YouTube chat, if you wish to have what's called a Criterion celebration, because YouTube has some very weird things when it comes to giveaways. I don't quite understand the logic to it. So I will simply call it a Criterion. Just a Criterion celebration, as it were. So if we hit our goal, we have things like Harakiri, which is a phenomenal film on Blu-ray from Criterion. The 4K special edition of Dazed and Confused, another solid movie, and probably one of my favorite releases from Criterion as far as their actual box is concerned. And then another really good one, Princess Bride 4K, but only if we hit our goal on the YouTube side of things. So before going any further, please make sure you smash that like button, light that fire button over on Odyssey, and smash the rumble button as well. Let's go ahead and say hello to the people who are in the chat tonight. We got Tina B, Empress of the Universe, hanging out early in the chat. Thank you very much. Saying hello, everyone. Sorry it's hard for me to tag, but I'm on my iPhone. Might try to stop by later for a little if I don't get busy, but Happy New Year. I'll be back. Indeed. We are getting very close to the end of 2024. That, of course, means not only are we having a brand new slate of films set to come out in 2025, many of which I think there are at least a few that some might actually even be excited for, in fact, and it's going to be interesting. I think that 2025 likely will be a much bigger year at the box office. I do think that that is a likely scenario that will happen, but at the same time, I also think that we'll probably have that continued that continued progress that we've seen in the box office numbers, meaning ultimately, guess what? We're going to have a lot of flops, I think. I think we're going to have that continuation of the flop busters continuing on going forward from both the mid-budget and larger budget films too. So lots of things that I think are going to happen in 2025 as far as films are concerned. But yeah, it's been a very interesting year. But we're going to talk about the box office this weekend, but also in a retrospect, we're going to talk a little early listing of the worst films of 2024. It's now also a great time to think back a little bit. And as we continue to make our list, keep in mind that the year is not yet over. There are still several films that I have not been able to see. Several movies that I have not had, the chance to go to the theater to go see, Nosferatu being one of them. It is hard for me to have a finalized best of and worst of listing. So, yes, we'll go ahead and continue on in the chat tonight. But yeah, lots of things to talk about as we get close to the new year. By the way, I want to give a couple of quick special shout outs. So first off to Mrs. Winkster getting the first of the 5 super chats. Mrs. Winkster, I see you were able to change your your name here. So congratulations. Here is some money for the new year. Well, thank you very much for that super chat. Appreciate it, Mrs. Winkster. And thank you for being here. I also want to give a special shout out to Geek Truth 64. Shout out to you, good sir. Been really cool to discover your channel and to really start to dive into a lot of the work that you've been doing. And let's just say, if you've not subbed over to Geek264, please go ahead and do so. He has really, really good stuff over there, and actually led me on to a couple of steelbooks that I had glanced over. Hopefully you saw my comment about the Ron steelbook. I still think probably one of the best releases from Lionsgate as far as physical media is concerned, as far as the actual box, as far as the actual steelbook itself. Don't sleep on that one. I might have to grab it if you don't know what I'm talking about, but I'm sure you do, because I know that you're big in this space. So Geek264, thank you for being here, and again, shout out to everyone for being here tonight. All right, let's head back over. So Wendy Hunter, Wendy, thank you very much for re-upping at the Citizen of Asgard level. Appreciate that very, very much. For some reason, it did not tell me exactly where you are in the midst of your membership here, but always appreciative of you being here. Wendy saying, hello, Chad and Odin. I hope everyone had a wonderful Christmas. I hope that you are continuing to have a wonderful Christmas, right? It is still the merriest of Christmas seasons currently. Could be even merrier. Kimberly G. Killian Shadowcat. What's going on, Kimberly G? Saying, hello, Odin, Wendy, and Snortapoopus. Well, hello to you. Thanks for being here. We got CM Chunk. What's up, brother? Welcome up, CM Chunk. Laura, the Mother Major General Story Shorty Short. Thanks for helping me figure out if the chat was going to be working in my Prism Live studio tonight. It's always great to have that clarification, that verification. So it should be live. It should be working on all platforms tonight. We are live on YouTube, on Odyssey, also over on Green Machine, of course, and over on X/Twitter. So wherever you are, make your voice heard, and your chat should hopefully come through. And if they don't, you just let me know. Short, then going on to say, who dat, Odin? I am actually not a New Orleans Saints fan, surprisingly. I am sad, though, because it reminds me I did not win the Fantasy Football League this year. So my family, all of us, aunts and uncles of our, family, like my brothers and, sisters, my brothers, my sister, and then all the in-laws, we are all in this league because I have a nephew who, if you watched my video from this past week and you actually saw featured on the channel, so just a shout out to, as his code name, he decided before the show, it was, it was Austin and Hogan. He was Austin. So shout out to Austin, who codename Austin for having a very quick Sonic review in the box office breakdown from this past weekend. But anyway, so it's actually because of him. So he is, my nephew. He was the first of the nephews and nieces of my family. So it is been really cool to see him just grow up, and it's crazy that he's getting into like 5th grade stuff. It's like, man, wow, insane how time flies. And so he's a huge football fan, huge fantasy football fan, like really wanted to do a league. And so about 3 years ago, he was able to convince us, his uncles and his aunts, to join in on this league. And so the first year we did it, I won. Second year, there were some shenanigans, and I lost that one. But I definitely protested in the way that only family can. And then this year, it was actually me up against my mom. My mom had a really solid season, and then did really well in the postseason, and ended up beating me by a few points last night. So yeah, it is definitely definitely a situation that I'm sad to have lost, but also happy that it was my mom. To have won, because none of us have players that are playing tonight. So that game, unfortunately, is over. And Breece Hall has let me down once again. I hopefully will not make the same mistake next season. Anyway, Carl Jacobs, what's going on, Carl Jacobs? Welcome back to the chat. Welcome back. Geek64, thank you very much, good sir. We try to give a little bit more of a preference to super chats as they come in. So this is now 2 out of the 5. So Geek64, thank you very much for the $2 super chat, saying thank you, Odin. FYI, I found my Ran Steelbook. Good. I mean, again, it is freaking beautiful, man. The artwork on that thing is great. And also, and I know that you talk about this a lot as well, those Lionsgate slipcovers, right? The plastic slipcovers that actually are functional are just awesome. I really wish more people did that. I really wish more, studios, distributors actually, took part in that. And maybe, we'll see that pick up in the future. But, oh man, that's probably my favorite of all the releases, to be honest. because it's just great. And not to mention, it's a phenomenal movie as well, so that obviously helps. KK and Rumsky hanging out over on the Green Machine. Tag and say, were you sad that I missed last week because I was on the road visiting family? And I responded to him, depressingly so. Yeah, it's very sad not to get my fix of the never-ending talk of the Meg and the Meg 2. Saying, I knew it, of course you did. G-Monkey76, once again in the chat. Hail to you, G-Monkey76. We got Thanatos Felicitas hanging out in the chat as well. Thank you very much for being here. At one point, I know that you had tagged and said from Quantum Time, I think is what it was. I hope I didn't skip over the comment. I don't think I did. Maybe I haven't gotten it. I have not gotten to it yet. Forever Sci-Fi, who's a member here on the channel, though, hail to you. Thank you very much for being here. Forever Sci-Fi, you're awesome. Mrs. Wingster saying hello to the peoples. We got Tina B. I have a little time. Started my dishwasher. Was watching Mystery Science Theater 3000. Happy New Year again. I'll try to stay for a few. Well, Tina, thank you very much for staying and for stopping by. It is always great to see you. All right, back to it. We got Keely Chow hanging out. What's going on, Keely Chow? Dadman Walking 55. What's up, Dadman? Hail to you. Tina saying, sorry if it takes me a few minutes to respond. I have to screenshot your comments. I'm just happy that the vision has gotten a lot better. So continuing to pray, obviously, for a recovery of the eyesight. Orange Hat, the man with the mighty axe, lurking, but also watchful. Thank you for being here, Orange Hat. Icthulu is a member. Hail to you. Happy New Year's, and wish you all a great night. Absolutely. Absolutely. Crazy to think that tomorrow's, like, this holiday, right, this 2 weeks that we get, you know, as far as like, you know, teachers and for many workers as well, right? You get a good chunk of this time off, right? From just right before, a few days before Christmas, all the way through a few days after New Year's. Just the fact that time just kind of goes away and you're like, wait a minute, what day is it? Oh, it's a Monday? Oh my goodness, that's crazy. And oh, wait a minute, tomorrow's New Year's Eve? What? That's insane. What, you're saying that it's going to be 2025 in just a couple of days? That's crazy talk. It's crazy talk, I tell you. Crazy. Laura saying, yeah, YouTube's app sucks, no tagging. Agreed. It seems like such a simple thing, and I don't know why YouTube has either taken so long to implement it or has just decided to not to implement it at all. It just does not make any sense. It's such a simple thing, quality of life thing, and honestly would make watching on mobile that much better. Jimmy A, what's going on? Welcome. Thanks for being a member here on the channel. Her Sci-Fi, who is a member, saying, here's hoping 2025 will be the yin to 2024's yang. There's definitely some good stuff that happened in 2024, for sure. Things could obviously always be a little bit better. And yeah, hoping for good things. Good things. Jeremy Zakowski tags say, good evening, Odin, and everyone. Good evening to you. Thank you for being here. Tina B saying, Lion King still failed. Sonic still curb stomped him. Disney lied. Nosferatu has done very well. Nosferatu has done well. Lion King has not failed. Again, at this point, it is still too early to tell, but there is no denial that Lion King, that Mufasa specifically, has gotten a second life from this box office. I know that there's now all this conversations going on, and this happens every time. Every time there's a Disney movie that gets released, and there's a questionable, hey, is it doing well, is it not doing well, some story always comes out about, oh, they're selling and buying their own tickets and they're giving things away and all that stuff comes out. And most of the time, it is unfounded. It's pure guesswork. It is pure speculation, and there's no actual verifiable data. This brings me back to the one that still annoys me so much to this day of Captain Marvel, where people just could not understand, how could Captain Marvel of a movie, how could that film make $1 billion? Oh, it's because they were buying their own tickets and blah, 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 all the empty seats. And it's like, look, there was completely logical explanations to explain why that was the case. There was no conspiracy needed for that. Now, am I saying that Disney doesn't do that? Am I saying that Disney has never done that before? I have no proof of that whatsoever, but at the same time, there is not really proof of the other side specifically. Has Disney done shady things in the past? Yes, but just because Disney has done shady things as a company with other things does not mean that they are therefore doing this specific thing. And also the whole concept of giving free tickets away, that is not an exclusively Disney thing. Disney is not the only one that has ever done that. There are several companies that give away tickets. It is a way of creating promotion, is a way of creating word of mouth. The only thing and the only criticism that I think is valid when it comes to Disney specifically in this and really any other of its releases is how they do indeed put a vice grip on theaters. That is something completely true and completely worth criticizing. Because in order for a theater to get a movie from Disney, and this is at least how it used to be, I don't know exactly if it's the same this way, but I remember when I worked at a theater, it was, hey, in order to get your Disney movie, you got to have certain screens. If you have the capacity for 3D, you have to have a certain number of 3D screens in a given day at certain times. If you have the IMAX, if you have the premium formatted screens, Disney gets those for 2 solid weeks. But at the same time, you also can't forget the fact that there's going to be other studios that are going to try to do something similar. Disney just happens to be one of the more powerful studios and distributors that are able to actually bring that about. Okay, so again, I think that again, there is no actual evidence of them doing anything that is any different at this point that's driving Mufasa's box office, other than the fact that they dominate the currently are dominating the premium format screens. So if that is indeed the only thing holding them up at this point in time, well, next week, right, after 3 weeks, they typically lose that vice grip, right? Theaters are no longer contractually obligated. I would not be surprised if Sonic takes many of those things over. Sorry, I just my dog Willow is freaking out for some reason, so hopefully she's okay. Anyway, what I was trying to say, though, was I think that we're going to see, right, Sonic probably take a couple of those screens over. However, I also do think that Mufasa will probably still hold really well. Again, this is something that sometimes we don't want to admit. We would really be happy if Disney just had every film that they release flop. That would be great. The opening weekend of Mufasa was garbage. Sonic is currently still doing better than Mufasa. That being said, Mufasa is now also doing better than it was its opening weekend. Two things can be true at the same time. Okay? So anyway, going to go ahead and jump back into the chat. Hopefully all that made sense. Kincaid Rumsky saying, Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you and yours. Absolutely. To you as well. Keely Chow saying, Hail Odin, how are you? Thor, Freya, Baby Sif doing? Also, what did you have for dinner on Friday night? Friday night was a little bit different with family in town, and also because it was Christmas time, we were having a celebration of sorts, and so I'm trying to remember what we had as a family. I think that may have been a pizza night still, but I think I had some pepperoni pizza that night. I can't remember. My baby girl, by the way, thank y'all for actually, no, I don't think I actually mentioned this to y'all. But now that she's out of the worst of it, my baby girl has RSV. And so she has been coughing and sick. We found out the weekends, of course, all the family's coming in. We get that diagnosis. And yeah, I think that you have to kind of take that and, always run with it. And luckily, my family was more than willing to accommodate, but at one point she did have to go to the hospital. We noticed that she was just not breathing really well, and as a parent, obviously I'm very nervous, and so the wife took her in and stayed the night with her, and luckily she's just a gem, my baby girl. So she's fine though. Everyone's fine, but she's still obviously feeling the effects of it. But yeah, I always appreciate y'all checking in on family. Mrs. Wingster, again, thank you for that super chat. And by the way, we have 2 out of the 5 super chats. If we get to 5 super chats tonight, in however much time is remaining on that counter, which you can see in the YouTube chat, then we will be able to have a Criterion Celebration. And the Criterion Celebration have the names Princess Bride 4K, Harakiri Blu-ray, and Dazed and Confused 4K. So there it is. Geek64, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to Odin in the chat, to you as well. Kincaid Rumsky tagging, saying, have you noticed Christmas is the only holiday not called by name? Not really. I think especially with this year and over the past several years, there's been a huge cultural shift, I think, to where it's not as taboo of a subject to say. But I do think it is interesting that during this time of year, we have to be honest. What is the vast majority of the world, or at least the vast majority of the United States? Because one could argue, okay, if you're talking about population size, what are they celebrating in India and other places, right? But in the United States, in North America, in Europe, right, most people are celebrating what? They're celebrating Christmas. And so why is it that people automatically have to go and shift to Happy Holidays? But on dates, even made up dates like for Kwanzaa, it's like, it's appropriate to say that, or it's appropriate to say that. I will say that for Christmas Day, you do hear people saying, Merry Christmas, but then you typically also are hearing them say other things. The thing that always drives me crazy, though, is that Christmas does not actually start until Christmas Day. And then you have the 12 days of Christmas, and then you have the extended season after that until Candlemas in the beginning of February. So you have a lot of things that you can really, continue on with and have this huge celebration with. And then the whole Advent season, that preparation season, is kind of lost. So that's what drives me crazy more than anything else, to be honest. Let's see. Laura saying, I'm still trying to recover from seeing Nosferatu. Wow, what a movie. I heard great things. So I know I definitely can't make my best of list until I've seen a movie like that. Mr. Roy, hello. What's up, Mr. Roy? Welcome back. Always glad to have you here. Icthulu. Trying to say, I shall not continue to ever celebrate Christmas again. Santa didn't leave Action Man with Kung Fu grip under my tree. Just some book and a note to read it more. Ah, I see what you did there. Caveat Ties, welcome back. Wayward Noodle, another person I wanted to shout out. I knew there was someone else. Wayward Noodle, I got your gift in the mail from the P.O. Box. So thank you, Wayward Noodle. He got me, or rather, he sent me the hat from the show Firefly. If you've ever seen The Man They Called Janestown, love it. Love it, love it, love it. And my wife is also a huge Firefly Serenity fan, so she was very jealous. She was like, I want a Jane hat. So Wayward Noodle, I got it. I appreciate it. Thank you so very much. I wanted to make sure I could, single you out on stream and give you a giant thank you. Appreciate it. Alrighty, let's see. Rob D saying, hello, Odin. Do you think 2025 will be a better year for the box office and film release in general? I do think so. There's just too many films that are major tentpole movies or traditionally have been tentpole movies that have been pushed on to this year. So yeah, we're going to have a ton of big releases. Now, whether or not they make money or not is still up in the air because we saw this year a summer that had hits like Inside Out 2. Disney movie. Make well over $1 billion, biggest film of the year, and a very huge success at that, right? A very huge success at that. So we had that going on, but then we also had films like Furiosa, which overall didn't have terrible word of mouth as far as the reviews, as far as the general sentiments. Yes, hardcore Mad Max fans were not really on board with the movie for sure, but general audiences in general seemed like, hey, it's an okay movie. It was entertaining at least, but still lost a lot of money, right? We saw this happen to several movies. So I do think that will probably continue. Gary Benja Sandwich Worthiness says, worst film 2024 are Blaine's recommendations. Well, I mean, Blaine, shout out to Blaine of Critic List. I love him. But yeah, he is definitely more of a normie mindset. So he typically will have a lot of recommendations that fall much more in line with your typical normie audience fare. So he'll have a lot of MCU type movies or things like that. So let's see. Cthulhu, thank you very much, dude, for donating $5 to the a $5 super chat saying donating so your fans can get Criterion gift. Hope you get to see a great New Year's fireworks show with family and friends tomorrow. Probably won't actually. My wife and I are much more of that staycation type. When we lived in Louisiana, we had like our best friends still live there, and so we used to be able to have specific plans in that way, in that capacity. Ever since we moved up here, especially since the first year that we were up here, like going into 2020, we were getting close, we had just gotten here early 2019, and then 2020 happened, and so that kind of ruined plans in that way. I do think that I do think that it probably impacted us to a certain degree. So we'll probably just have a very nice night at home, especially with two kids, with younger kids and one with RSV. We're not going to go out, but I do appreciate it nonetheless. Like, Cthulhu, thank you for that super chat, man. I do appreciate that. And yeah, now just 2 super chats away from being able to open up that giveaway. So for YouTube standards, the Criterion Celebration, as we will call it. We'll jump into our topic soon, but there are a lot of people here, so I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all. Smash that like button, please. It does definitely help a lot. King and Rumsky tagging to say, please forward my congratulations to Wingster and her marriage. Well, there you go, right there. Wow, 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 wow. Kevin Wang, it's one of those persons that always comes in with random things saying, hi, Odin, how was your holiday? Christmas still going on. Still going very well, in fact. I think Disney created competition by releasing 2 kids' movies really close to each other. Disney used to do is release the animation movie and 1 blockbuster movie. I don't know about that necessarily. It's not as common today that Disney releases movies as close as they have. That's just kind of the nature of the holiday season, though. I mean, if we're honest, if we look and see how studios often release movies over the December frame especially, you have a couple of different factors going on. You've got, of course, the holiday, and you're going to have people going after those Christmas audiences, right? And so studios are more likely to release your bigger movies that can bring in a lot of audiences because people are off from school, off from work. So that means more money. It's also, though, the end of the year, meaning that it's the last opportunity to get films released in time for award season. And so you also have sometimes that higher quality film also getting released. So I do think that that is the reason why you can see that happen in this way. And again, just because there is competition does not necessarily impact box office. I know that sometimes people say, oh, well, the competition, so people, it's like, which one do I see? There is no actual, and this is more of an individual basis, right? There is no data that anyone can really point to that will say, yes, so these 5 people were going to see this movie. So let's say these 5 people were going to see Sonic, but instead saw Mufasa, most likely the other way around, right? These 5 people were going to go see Mufasa, but instead they went to see Sonic, and now they're not going to see Mufasa in the future theatrically. There's just no data on that. And so we don't know exactly how much audience is being taken because of 2 films being out. Usually, I think, especially when it comes to kids' family movies, more likely a family is to say, we're going to see both. We'll just determine, hey, which one are we actually going to see first, is typically how that would go, based off of everything that we have in front of us, at least. Caveat ties. Know why I messed that up. Caveat ties, thank you very much, good sir, for that $2 super chat there, saying Mufasa isn't that what they say in Mufasa isn't that Mufasa. Isn't that what they say in Ace Ventura 2? Oh, yes. Oh, man. I have not seen the Ace Ventura films in way too long. And I love both of them. I think Pet Detective is the better film, but When Nature Calls is still so funny. Shikaka is actually, I think, the name is that. But yeah, you could definitely put in Mufasa. The whole Slinky scene just gets me every single time, too. So caveat ties, thank you very much. And hey, we've met the goal with Forever Sci-Fi's super chat. Thank you very much for that $2 super chat saying, go Lions. No, not Disney's. I see what you did there. Awesome. Well, hey, Forever Sci-Fi, thanks for being a member. Thank you for doing that. We'll go ahead then and open up the giveaway. So similar to what it was last time, it's for regulars only. It's my way of trying to give back to you. So go ahead and look to Heimdall for instructions on how to enter in. So you only enter in 1 ticket. 1 ticket costs 5,000 digital cookies. You check your digital cookies by putting exclamation point cookies, right? And or is it cookies exclamation point? I think it's cookies exclamation point, I think. Follow the people in the chat. They know what they're doing. It's been a while. And if you want to enter in, you just put enter exclamation point 1, and Mrs. Wingster has entered in correctly, so that's how you can enter in. And the options, as I mentioned earlier, are going to be The Princess Bride. This is on 4K Criterion Collection. We also have Harakiri Criterion Blu-ray, and we've got Dazed and Confused. This is also a 4K release from Criterion. And I will let y'all know and we'll leave that open for a little bit, obviously, to let people have time to enter in. And I've got Mrs. Wingster, Forever Sci-Fi, Master of Gaming, Caveat Ties, and Tina B have entered in for this giveaway. Thanatos Felicitas, I have you entered in for this giveaway as well. And thank y'all. We'll get back to that. We'll get back to that as the show goes on, and I'll let y'all know who has been locked in their entry. You do have to stay until the end to find out. If you're not here to claim your prize at the end, then you miss out. It's one of the prizes. It's one of the prizes. But I like to give things away. It's one of my favorite things to do. All right, let's get back into the chat and then actually talking about some stuff here. Cthulhu is saying, Odin is streaming from prison live? Darn. Would you? It's Prism. Oh, man. Lee Mitchell, welcome. Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, obviously many people as far as their actual celebrations are concerned, but factually, it goes on. There are the factual 12 days of Christmas. Kincaid Rumsky, tag to say, saw some of your family on your video. Good looking family. I assume you're adopted. Of course, Kincaid Rumsky, of course. Yes, I'm just that darn ugly. So. Oh, man. Duncan Hooper, welcome. Thank you for being here. Jimmy A says, worst movie of the year for me was most likely In the Land of Saints and Sinners. The most boring thriller I've seen in a long time. Dang. Yes, I believe, isn't that one of the billion movies that got released by, what's his name? Liam Neeson. I feel like Liam Neeson puts out so many movies every single year. Oh man. All right, now I can head into the live chat in my Prism studio. So let me just get caught up right here. Let's see. Jimmy A. There we go. Boom. There it is. Yeah. I never saw that because I'm just really tired, honestly, of he puts out so many movies in a given year. It's kind of crazy. It's kind of insane. By the way, Orange Hat, the man with the orange hat, thank you very much for also adding in. I think we had met it, but if not, thank you for putting us over the edge, or at least adding on to it, Orange Chat. The man with the orange hat for that $2 super chat saying for the goal. And we indeed have our giveaway now live. Follow the instructions in the chat. If you need to go back in time a little bit, you can. You can ask also the members here on the channel, the mods here on the channel. They can let you in, key you in on the key details that one would need in order to enter in. All right, where did I leave off in the chat? Where is it? Forever Sci-Fi saying here, I accidentally bought 2 copies of the Demolition Man limited edition. Now I have 6 seashells and still don't know how to use them. Dang. Geek264, Lionsgate has been amazing with their steelbooks. They are transitioning to online exclusive steelbooks for Kill Bill 1 and 2 and Jackie Brown. Yes. Yeah, I mean, I really hope that they continue on with that because every one of the favorite, all of the steelbooks that I like most typically have come from Lionsgate, whether it be the artwork that they have, the people that they have commissioned to do the artwork, whether it just be the fact, again, that they, I believe all of them, correct me if I'm wrong, at a certain point, all of them have gotten that release with the clear, the plastic slipcover. Like just a steelbook with the slipcover alone, to me, was genius, specifically with the plastic one. So I really like that a lot. So, Forgive Your Mama over on Green Machine saying, I refuse to watch the new Mystery Science Theater. I think that Tina watches the traditional one, if memory serves. Justin C. Time to say, hail to you and Happy New Year. Looking forward to a better 2025 in film, among other things. There's a lot of films to look forward to. We talked about some of that stuff last time, I believe. Gary Banjo Sandwich saying, world will be much better now we got Orange Man back in charge. I know a lot of people feel that way for sure. And I think that financially speaking, there are a lot of things. Let's see. This gets to the part we were mentioning earlier. So Tina B saying, Disney's buying tickets, add on, tell me it ain't true. Again, show me the evidence. That's what I would ask for. Again, having any type of promotional situation, giving free tickets away via radio, that is something that has been done for decades, and that's something that has been done by more than just one studio. So that, again, is just not not enough. Captain Marvel, what the heck is even that? What the heck is even that? Jacobite Wiseman saying, I prefer Universal or Fox Animation over Disney. We all have our preferences, for sure. Tina B says, wait, I think I remember in Captain Marvel, wasn't that some movie with some woman who was named after a piece of cheese? Exactly. Jimmy A. Disney making theaters keep their movies for 3 weeks is diabolical. Something like Endgame is understandable, but theaters had to suffer through 3 weeks of the Marvel's box office. Oh, no. Yeah, trust me, Jimmy A. It is. And that's why if you are going to be critical of anything, that is the thing to go after because that is verifiable. As someone who worked at a theater, I can confirm that that is absolutely what they do. And it is, I think, I think diabolical is a correct thing. About the 3 weeks thing, I don't know about that one necessarily. I just do know that for the first 2 weeks, they've got a vice grip. So with the changes that happened after COVID, I know that theaters typically amongst studios got a little bit more bargaining power. But, obviously they're still very much at the whim of the studios. They get so little return on investment. When I was working at the theater before COVID, it used to be that for every $10 on a movie ticket spent, the studio got $9 in that first 2 weeks. And Disney was the one that especially got the biggest chunk, right? I don't know if other studios got the same cut, but most of them did. And just based off of, talking to my general manager and asking, hey, why is it, financially, I'm curious, why do we charge so much for popcorn? And it's like, we make nothing on tickets. And he gave me that metric of, but for about every $10 spent on a movie ticket, we get about the studio gets about 9, we get about 1. Whereas for those popcorn sales, obviously that's just net profits because it costs pennies to make the stuff, really. And a lot of the other stuff, right? It's so ridiculously overpriced. And I was always, when people came up and complained about the prices, I'd always say, I totally agree, right? I worked for the theater at that time, and I was like, I totally agree. But then adding on to that and saying, hey, but by the way, here's the reason why. They still didn't like it, and I didn't like it either, but it did, I think, help a lot of people better know. It's like, wait a minute. I'm pretty sure that it's still well overpriced. I think it'd be lovely if Disney failed, but don't worry, I still have Brown Not So White. I expect glorious videos ripping apart the movie anyway. I better get glorious videos or else. No, I think you will. That is one that I think is going to be very hard to have any prospect of success, and that's not just because the movie, I don't think, is going to bring a lot of people out. It's much more that financial liability, right? Just how much money they've spent on it, how much they've done as far as the reshoots are concerned. I mean, that thing, it's not as big of a catastrophe as Brave New World's going to be. Captain America Brave New World is going to be, I think, if we're going to make, I know that there's, shout out to Gary Banjo Sandwich Worthington. I know that he has a group that for 2024 made like bets, not real bets, but basically for a prize, whoever made the correct decision, who made the correct guess of what was going to be the biggest flop of 2024 will get a prize. I would say early bets, early money on that movie. And it's not, again, when it comes to specifically that movie, and I would even say with Snow White as well, it's not going to be because of how few people go, though that's, I think, a factor that's definitely a possibility. It's going to be a lot more to do with because of how much money they spent on it. I mean, with Brave New World alone, you got to have $1 billion, essentially, just to break even. That's just to break even. And I don't think anyone in their right mind is going to think, yeah, that movie totally has $1 billion on over it. No. I think a lot of people would say, ooh, I don't even know if that film does too much better than the Marvels, or hey, let's at least be, quote, fair and say maybe a Thor Love and Thunder level, or a Black Panther Wakanda Forever level, where again, for a smaller budgeted movie, that'd be okay, but not for the amount of money they spent on that thing. Good Lord, no. Carl Jacobs tagged to say, can anything good come out of Disney? Yeah, I do think they can, because keep in mind, they are still releasing Blu-rays, they're still releasing 4Ks. And even there, and I know my physical media people especially will know this, they are just gouging people on certain releases. Like they're not the only ones, but they are always the ones that charge seemingly the most on average. It's very hard to find Disney movies, especially like proper Disney titles, on sale for 4Ks and for Blu-rays. Blu-rays are a little bit better, but 4Ks especially, really, really hard to find any good sales because Disney just gouges the prices to such a massive extent. But I will say this much. Even Disney Star Wars still has good stuff coming out of it. It's just not any of the new stuff. Skeleton Crew, some are saying, hey, you know what? It's actually not bad. For me, I'm like, it's just so derivative of everything else. And honestly, I think it would work better if it wasn't in Star Wars. If you had the same actors with very similar characters and you had it not in Star Wars, it actually would probably be better. I think Star Wars is actually holding it back because of how much damage has been done to the branding. But what has been good that's come out of Disney, it's actually the audiobooks. So they've been going back and they have been taking a lot of the audiobooks that were abridged originally and been releasing unabridged versions, including of the X-Wing novels, which are fantastic novels if you've never seen them. Was it Michael Stackpole, I think, who did most of them? And they're brilliant. Mark Thompson, my favorite voice actor in the Star Wars novel, audiobook side of things, he's doing the voices, and he's just so good. And those productions are great. So if you've never listened to an audiobook, I recommend any of the classic EU stories. Anything done by Mark Thompson's voice especially you're going to be happy. So there's a positive right there. Jimmy A, who's a member, saying, sorry to hear that baby Sith got RSV. I have family members with kids that have had respiratory problems, and I know it's not easy. Praying for your family. I appreciate it. I really do. Mrs. Wingster, Odin, it sounds like you're just making up holidays. I'm not. Oh, man. Yannick Thulu, thank you very much earlier for that $5 SS super chat. We do currently have that giveaway still going live, thanks to the generosity of the people here. Again, up to Thanatos Felicitas, if I had mentioned your name earlier. Let's see, Mrs. Wingster, Forever Sci-Fi, Master of Gaming, Caveat Ties, Tina B, and Thanatos Felicitas. I have y'all entered in for the giveaway. Or the Criterion Celebration. Jeremy Zakowski, what are your thoughts on rumor on Superman's test screen? I have not heard of it, and honestly, I don't really trust test screens in general. I just, whenever it comes to information being leaked, I always come at it from a much more doubtful lens, and it's because a lot of people are willing to run with things that have not been verified for clicks and for attention. And I'm not pointing fingers at anybody. That's kind of the nature of the business. It is a way that one makes a living in this space. I just try to avoid that stuff as much as I can. I try to speak from what is factual. That's why I like to stick with numbers. I like to stick with, data points that can be either verified or can, be clearly stated. Anyway, Caveat Ties, I just so happy that you mentioned Ace Ventura again, because it really, those two films are both great. Again, first one is still a better movie, entertaining, but there's a lot of funny moments, especially the birthing scene in Ace Ventura 2, When Nature Calls. So good. Master of Gaming, what's going on? Gary Banjo Sandwich, let's see, says awards. Ravens is coming. Added some films to the list. Yeah, the short list nomination is now closed. So I'm now data entry, which is just going to take a while because we had 99 people, 99 entries for that shortlist nominations, and many of y'all put in multiple nominations. And now I'm going in and filling in. So the way it's going to work is basically if you put a nomination forward, unless it just didn't fit the category, like someone put in, I'll reveal this now because they didn't make the nominations, but someone nominated Civil War for Best Low Budget Movie. Problem is, our low budget movie consideration is $30 million budget or less. Civil War had a $50 million budget, so therefore it's not going to make the list. And so basically any film or any person that was nominated is going to be put onto the shortlist. And when the official nomination form comes out, you'll have the option to either click on the preset ones, or the very bottom, there's an other, and you can add in your own. And if enough people write in a candidate or write in a movie, that will be able to get an official nomination. It'll be the top 5 vote getters in most categories, with best film, of course, being top 10. But it's going to be fun. A lot of very good choices, I think. Oh goodness. I'll have to say this differently. But Mr. Shaggins, we have a family show here, so I do appreciate you being here, though. Mr. Shaggins saying, hello, Odin, my fellow lover of pizza. Hope you and the family are well. Also, hello, chat. Well, thank you for being here, and everyone's doing okay. Master Gaming thoughts on Nosferatu from Robert Eggers. Have not seen it yet, so cannot tell you. There is the instructions from Heimdall about the Criterion Christmas special. Got to be a regular, which means having at least, I think it's set to 5 hours of watch time here, and 5,000 digital cookies, which you simply get by watching the show consistently. I want to make sure that those that are watching, get something. And if you super chat, there are bonuses attached to that. If you donate via Streamlabs, there's bonuses attached to that as well. So anyway, Thulu saying, rooting for Mrs. Wingster to win as a wedding gift. I forgot to mail. Well, Mrs. Wingster won one of the last giveaways, actually. By the way, if you won the Christmas giveaway, the first Christmas giveaway, those are all in the mail. Those are all in the mail now. I swear at some point we're going to get to the topics, by the way. It's like we're 50 minutes into the show. We're still in this. Oh, man. I just can't stop. Can't stop. Won't stop. I have Christmas Bride on VHS. Good enough for me. No. Look, I have a special place in my heart for VHS, but the quality of VHS sucks. I'm sorry. Like, Blu-ray or higher. Anything below Blu-ray is noticeably bad. Okay, and Rumsky over on Green Machine. I think mine is straight DVD. Goodness gracious. Y'all need to upgrade y'all's picture quality. Mr. Shaggin saying, Odin, are you looking forward to Stranger Things 5? I'm cautiously optimistic. Yeah. I definitely am. I've overall liked Stranger Things. I've liked what they've been doing with the show. Are there a couple of episodes that are not as good? Yeah, the whole subplot in, was it season 2 or 3, where Eleven goes to the city to be like one of those like punk kids. That was one I could have done without. There's definitely moments and elements that are a bit repetitive for sure. And I'm going to be honest, there's not a whole lot of stuff that's memorable about the show, is what I've noticed. I think that's actually a part of that is because of the binge model that they have. Because we're so used to watching all the episodes straight through, and not a lot of it sticks. We don't ruminate on a lot of things that happen in every episode. And so because of that, there's a lot of stuff we forget. Last season, I thought was definitely a step up, though. I thought that the villain was great. I thought that the acting was great. There, a couple of the newer characters was really cool. It kind of felt like a throwback to some of the strengths of the earlier season, right? The first season of the show. Mrs. Wingster, your nephew's review of 96.7 of Sonic is acceptable. I know. I love that, and it was almost lost in the audio. But the fact that he put out there a 96 and then like waited a beat and then said 0.7, it was really funny. He wanted to get back in the chair and he wanted to record more. I'm like, look. We got to limit it, man. So I try to make him look good. Let's see. Master Game, he says, my worst movie of the year is Borderlands. Yeah, I didn't even watch that. I actually refused to watch it. That's why, again, when it comes to my list, there's tons of films that are not on my list. And it's not because they're not bad. It's because I either chose not to watch them or, they just slipped by. Jimmy A. in the Land of Saints and Sinners has kind of turned me off from Liam Neeson, so much so that I didn't care to watch Absolution, which actually looked good. Yeah, I mean, he just puts out like 3 or 4 movies every single year because of this relationship he has with Briarcliff, I think is the name of the studio. It's just like, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. All right, let's get into the news. All right, because we have a lot of stuff to talk about. So we'll do a quick overview of some of the box office stuff officially, and then we'll jump into the worst films, in my opinion, of 2024. At least an early edition of the list of worst films of 2024. Let me go ahead and get this window correct, though. And, of course, if we're going to talk about box office, there's only one thing that still needs to be done.
Time to see a real mathematician at work!
So there are many other YouTubers that will try to talk about the box office, will try to math it up, and I think ultimately fail quite a bit. I'm kidding, of course, but it is something that this is a passion of mine. I love following this stuff, and I like to think that I have some idea of what it is that I speak about. And so when I talk about a couple of these movies, please know I'm not coming at it from a place of trying to shill for any company or trying to be contrarian in any way. It's, all right, here's just my own experience of what I've noticed in covering box office numbers. And so the first thing that you'll notice is that Sonic 3 won out the weekend. And Sonic 3 was doing really, really well in the daily numbers, right? So we'll pull up the daily charts here. The other thing that you'll notice from this is not only how well Sonic is doing, but also the other bit of news here about not only Sonic winning the weekend, but Mufasa overperforming. There's no other way to really, explain it, right? That Mufasa took the number 1 spot on the Sunday box office. We go back to Saturday, Sonic took the number 1 spot by about $200,000. So a very tight race. On the Friday numbers here, right? 12.6 to 12.1, only a $500,000 advantage, but still went to Sonic. And then once you start to get into the Friday numbers, right? So basically the pure weekday numbers, this is where you start to see Mufasa take a bit of a lead, right? So Mufasa had about a $450,000 advantage on the Thursday. Christmas Day, Mufasa won by a few $1,000,000, beating out even newcomers Nosferatu and Sonic. So about $4.7 million advantage over Sonic 3. And then on Tuesday, on Christmas Eve, Sonic was the one that took that one by about 300,000. So I bring these daily numbers up just to show you, right? Yes, it is true that the weekend went to Sonic, but it was still very close. $37 million for Sonic versus 36.8. And here is something, too, that has to be mentioned. Whereas Sonic, which is in its second weekend, dropped 38%, which factually is a very strong hold. Sonic is doing, objectively speaking, very, very well domestically. It's going to have a very strong domestic run. It clearly has great word of mouth. International side of things is still a little bit wish-washy, meaning it still remains to be seen. The other two films really weren't global powerhouses. They were able to bring in, right, $300-400 million globally, but they really, again, had a lot of that coming from those domestic numbers. And I think something will very similarly happen here with Sonic 3. But what's interesting is, whereas that was a very strong hold for a movie like Sonic, which is in its second weekend, right? A 38% drop is a solid hold. Look at what Mufasa did, okay? We're not talking about a drop-off. We're talking about a 4% increase. It actually had a better second weekend than its opening weekend. $36.8 million. So it somehow actually had an increase in the weekend. Now, some of you might be saying, but wait a minute, this doesn't seem quite right. Keep in mind, right, that last weekend's also includes the Thursday premiere numbers, and so that's why you potentially have that difference in separation. But the fact is that Friday through Sunday numbers, right, of last weekend to this weekend, Mufasa actually did better, a 4% increase. That is a very good sign for a movie like this. And we can try to say, oh, it's because Disney's buying their own tickets. It just does not make any financial sense, and not that Disney is the best when it comes to financial senses whatsoever. There's a lot of evidence to suggest that with how much they spend, and I really should say waste money on films that should never have been made. But the fact also remains is that there's no actual evidence that is what is happening here as far as why the film is making what it is making. So a 4% increase, just again, objectively speaking, for a film to increase its box office by 4% from week 1 to week 2 is incredibly rare. Almost never happens, right? You always hear me point it out whenever it does, because it's so rare that it does happen, especially amongst bigger films. It's one thing if it's in like an independent film that just takes off and has a like very abysmal small opening weekend and then has an increase. Or if it has a A24 type release where it releases at 10 theaters and then releases at 100 plus the next weekend, and so you have an increase there. But for a massive film with a $200 million budget like Mufasa, with the type of footprint that it has, after an abysmal opening, especially domestically, this is very big for it. And the prospects now are that, yes, the film still has a chance, and I would say a better chance to lose money. That is still where I think the most likely scenario is. But as I mentioned in my box office breakdown, I think now, whereas before, that opening weekend kind of put Mufasa at like a 90 to 95+% chance of flopping. Now it's probably only about a 75% chance. So that's a huge increase as far as totals. And I think when we start to see these numbers come in, these are the actuals now coming in. So initially it was 5% increase, I believe. And so now it's 4. So that's still really, really good. So yeah, Mufasa is doing well. Now, some are gonna try to argue, saying, well, it's got those premium format screens, and so that per theater ratio is likely a reason as to why that's the case. We'll see what happens after it drops off. But keep in mind, yes, there are a lot of people that will go to see films in IMAX, but not everyone will. A lot of tickets are still being sold at your typical cheaper tickets, right? People can't afford as much as they once were able to. If you're going to bring your family to a movie, again, are you going to be spending that upcharge for IMAX? Some theaters have it where there's that preferential seating option that also increases the ticket price. Are you going to shell that money out? I think that most people today, especially in the market that we have, probably not. So yes, those premium format screens are going to have some impact, but just how much? I just do not see it as being as high or as large of an impact as some might be indicating. We'll find out next weekend, of course, because that third weekend is typically when they lose that vice grip on theaters. And I think that Sonic will probably be the film that kind of finds its way into that place, especially because January is the place where films go to die, people. So January 3rd, we have, let's see what our opening, or what our next weekend is. Let's see, the Friday, the 3rd. So we've got basically nothing this weekend, right? So The Damned, a limited release. From Ground Zero, limited. The Last Republican, limited. 7 IMAX re-release. So that is a movie that's going to probably have some, some power, I guess you could say. And then you don't get any new major wide releases until January 10th. So Den of Thieves 2, that is, I believe, like either a Bollywood or, I don't know, honestly. No, that's the way. Hold on, that's Lionsgate. That's Lionsgate. What am I talking about there? Den of Thieves 2. Oh, Gerard Butler. I can't believe that's getting a sequel, actually. What? Okay, so yeah, that coming out. Lionsgate has had a terrible run of it. Better Man has been in limited release, is expanding. Hard Truths, same thing. And The Last Showgirl, expanding. So you got nothing really coming out. January 17th, One of Them Days. Okay. Wolfman. Okay. September 5th, expanding wide. Brave the Dark Colors Within, Flight Risk Presence. Still really nothing. January 4th. And then you've got January 31st. Again, where films go to die. Companion, Dogman, Valiant 1. Still nothing. So really not until February 14th do you have any, in my opinion, major releases that have a lot of money behind them. With Captain America, Brave New World, Paddington in Peru. Don't sleep on Paddington. Paddington is a very successful kids brand these days. So I would not be surprised if Paddington is a strong second place that weekend. And then you have your typical, there always has to be at least one romance movie. So Verona's Romeo and Juliet from Briarcliff. I don't really trust that. But as you can see, there's nothing. There's nothing going on. So Sonic is going to be that movie that takes that spot as far as what is going to be your movie that's going to take that premium format. It's the one selling more tickets. And there's no doubt in my mind that when you break down the average ticket price, that Sonic is selling more. But Mufasa is still doing well. Nosferatu, as a rated R movie, $21 million opening weekend. Very strong. $40 million is what it has made domestically so far. You also have films like Wicked and Moana 2 going up 40%. Wicked, in its 6th week of release, increased 40%. This is what I was mentioning weeks ago. If y'all remember, I said, wait for that holiday frame. Do not be surprised if Wicked and Moana are still in that top billing, that top conversation. Sure enough, they are. And in fact, their box office increased. Not just Wicked, but Moana 2 as well. Moana 2 getting close to $400 million. Wicked is clearly winning, right? That domestic battle between the two. It does have that weak advantage on it, but when it comes right down to it, Moana 2 is just not going to be able to edge it out, I think, for the domestic. But internationally, Moana 2 has a lot going for it. So if we go to those international numbers, Sonic, $210 million after 2 weeks. So compared to Sonic 2, by the way, this is still about $30 million or so off from where Sonic 2 was at the same point of release. The difference, of course, now being the international release was delayed for Sonic 3. So it's I have in my charting, you'll notice that I do have that lined out for the second week numbers for Sonic 3, saying, hey, look, take these numbers with a grain of salt because there is still a lot of delays with those international numbers. We're not getting the full context of how well or not this is doing internationally. So do not be surprised if this current range of $300 to $420 million ends up being higher in the long run. So yeah, Sonic is on pace to do really, really well, and I think is guaranteed to make a lot of money. I think it's going to make $50 to $100 million in net gain profits. Those being concerned, but Mufasa, getting back to that, right now, currently with the box office as it stands, is at $153 million in losses. Right, but here's the thing. The movie, because of where it now is after its second weekend, has now the prospect of making between $468 and $655 million, which means it can lose somewhere around $18 million or make as much as $93. Remembering that most movies today, though, are not a 2.5 multiplier times their budget for their break even. It's actually closer to 3 times their budget. That means that we're probably looking at closer to what? Minus $50 million to maybe a max of plus $50 million. That still means that money is on the board. That means that there is now a chance. There is a pathway. Whereas last weekend, there did not seem like there was a pathway for Mufasa. There is now a pathway for this movie to be able to make its money back and to actually be profitable. And honestly, I think no matter where it ends up, I don't think Mufasa is going to be the biggest flop of 2024. And I don't think it's going to be anywhere close to the top 10 biggest flops of 2024. I would have thought that last weekend, but the numbers are simply what they are. Going into some of the others, though, Nosferatu at $43 million, very good. Wicked at $635. Again, not going to be a $1 billion movie, but $750-ish is definitely on the table for this movie. And then Moana 2, still people not quite... Still don't get why people don't think this film is doing well financially. The numbers are very clear as far as reported budgets, typical marketing spend. This movie is a massive hit at this point, and it is almost at $900 million after a few weeks. I think that $1 billion is absolutely on the table. And where's my evidence of that? 43% increase in its 5th week of release. You have one more week of a holiday frame, of a holiday box office rush, and I think that you're going to see that domestic number go up, continuing to go up. I believe there are a couple of markets in both the cases of Wicked and Moana 2 internationally that could give it some money. I don't think it's going to make a make or break, though, for any of those. But, yeah, these are the numbers as they are. So just a bit of recap, hopefully explaining why I do think that, yeah, Mufasa is doing better than people are saying. It is, at this point in time, not expected, not projected to be a massive flop based on the numbers and based on the data that we have in front of us. All of this could change next weekend, of course, because... it'll be the 3rd weekend. We'll see what happens with the splits of IMAX and Dolby. I think Sonic is going to get most of them, to be honest. So we probably will see a bump for Sonic's box office. There's a good chance of a bump, or have a very strong hold or very small drop off. But will Mufasa fall off a cliff next weekend? You know, if the theory is that it's only doing well, it only increased because of things like IMAX and Dolby and premium format screens, then there should be a catastrophic drop-off next weekend. But if there isn't, then guess what? That disproves that theory. And we've seen it happen with films before. But anyway, what say you? Let's get into the chat, and then we'll jump into worst movies of 2024. Let's see. Tina B saying, watch me win. I haven't watched Blu-rays in ages for my vision, and I only watched the traditional Mystery Science Theater. Exactly. That's what I was pretty sure of. Geek264 says, yes, you're right. Lionsgate really pioneered those slipcovers for steelbooks. They were amazing back in the day for only being $20 as well. Still quality, but higher prices these days. Yes, indeed. The prices have gone up quite a bit, sadly. But I do feel like Lionsgates are usually a bit more reasonable than what you would typically get from Disney. What else, sir? We got Jazz Pena saying, ahoy, ahoy to you. Jimmy A. Brave New World could be fun, but it will really flop. It still needs to make Deadpool and Wolverine numbers to break even, which we know won't happen. Yeah, there's just nothing to indicate that movie is going to do anything close to the numbers that it would need to even have a chance of doing anything, right? And yeah, Brave New World, I think right now we could say is going to be a flop and probably will be the biggest flop of 2025. That's the one that I would put my money on at this point because of how much money they spent. Wendy Hunter, 824. I remember when 3D was first big in theaters and having to explain why there was a $350 upcharge to do the technology. Yep. And it still drives me crazy. I hate 3D. It doesn't really add anything to it. The only use of it that made any sense, but keep in mind, I still don't think it was very well used, but the one that at least made some sense was the HFR, the high frame rate of the Hobbit movies, right? The Peter Jackson Hobbit films, because that's how they were shot. That's how they were made to be filmed. And the CGI actually looked better in that HFR. But that means if you saw it in normal mode, guess what? It did not look good. It looked really, really bad. And then the only really good transfer that I've seen in theaters, at least, there might have been others, but the only good 3D transfer I've ever seen was Jurassic Park. And I'm biased because I think, honestly, I was just so engrossed by seeing it on the big screen again, even though it was a 3D transfer, right? It was, post made into a 3D movie. It was still a great experience. Gary Banjo Sandwich Worthiness saying, you should run with my idea for 2025 and do a flop of the year on Critic List. Your qualifications in math would be invaluable. Maybe. I'm not good with like groups and stuff like that, though, over on Critic List. I prefer the platform more so for lists, for reviews versus the groups. The group functionality, in my opinion, is the one that might need a bit more work. But in general, obviously, I'm glad to have it And as I mentioned to you, right, as I mentioned, I do think that there is still a lot of box office to be counted for us to know for sure who is the biggest box office loser of 2024. So you might have to hold off on giving a win to somebody over there. By the way, Westfield 60 just tipped $10 over on Streamlabs. So thank you very much, Westfield 60, for that $10 donation. YouTube ain't getting none of that. He says simply, Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you, Westfield 60. And I do appreciate that. Let's see. The giveaway is still live. So Hardwick has entered in. He's the only change that I can see on here as far as who has entered in. Who had not been previously entered in. Mrs. Wingster says, are we ever going to do some math? Oh, yes, we absolutely did. Geek64 says, I was about to name Mark Thompson when you mentioned him. Amazing narrator. Love how he did the Thrawn trilogy with music and sound effect as good as a movie. Oh, absolutely. The Thrawn trilogy is amazing. But I think this much, Geek Truth. His Thrawn, before Disney got involved and changed it because of what they did in the, was it Rebels or was it Clone Wars? That to me, that first version he did where it was a deep voice was far superior than the more wispy version they ended up with. Mark Thompson still did a great job, but that was the better one. Let's see, Mrs. Wingster, if I could just find a parking spot. Tina B, there are no rumors, but that Warner Brothers is in a panic as usual. Warner Brothers is stupid. It's all probably fine. Laura saying, oh man, I really wanted to add Lily Rose Depp for breakout performance. Dang. Well, guess what? When the nomination form comes out, you can, if you feel like it's worth adding and that the other ones that you've added might have a good chance. Cthulhu, I totally wasn't 98 of those voting for Madam Web for best movie of the year. Luckily, that did not happen. Wendy Hunter, when do we vote for the Ravens? So the official nominations. So we've been collecting the short list, right? Something new this year that I think will help get a better nominees list for the year. I'm putting together that nomination form now. So I hope to get the nomination form out within the next week is my goal. And so you'll start to make your nominations. Nominations will then be finalized by mid-January. And then we'll announce those on a live stream. And at that point, then you'll be able to actually vote for winners, and then we'll have voting open until that week before the Oscars because we go up against them. We boycott them. Hardwick, what's weird about the Superman rumor is that the people who saw it supposedly didn't like it, but compared it to Captain America: First Avenger and The Mummy, both excellent movies. I would agree with The Mummy. 99 being an excellent movie. I was not a fan of Captain America: First Avenger personally. So that was me. Mr. Shaggin saying, yeah, that subplot in season 2 was not great. Still needs wrapping up though. And I would disagree with you that there's not a lot of memorable stuff. My friend would debate you for hours on that. Again, I think that there are people out there that will defend it. I think there are people out there that will remember it. There's hardcore fans. Right, there are hardcore fans of the show. So that's in any franchise that you'll find that. So I wasn't saying that no one will have anything memorable. I think, though, in general, I think most people who watch it and enjoy it probably don't have a whole lot. I was struggling to think of, oh man, what did happen last season? Oh, that's right. Last season was the only season that I can actually really remember to any degree. I've never had the desire to ever go back and rewatch a lot of them. The only one that I might ever want to rewatch is the first season. All the other ones kind of blend together. The most recent one, honestly, was the one that stuck out, I think. Yes, indeed, we did some math. Master of Gaming says, Liam Neeson has a relationship with Open Roads films. Ah, yes. Gary Benja Sandwich saying, 2025 is the year of at least 5 Liam films, 4 for sure. Yeah, seriously, it's insane. It's insane how many movies that guy does. It's crazy. Just look it up. Look up his IMDb and look up how many movies he's done the last 5 to 10 years. It's truly insane. King Rumsky saying, my family said Red 1 was good, but I don't trust any movie with The Rock in it. Thoughts? I mean, I honestly, this is not shilling for them at all, but Critic List, I think, is the place to go for it because you're going to find in the Critic List score, I think, a lot more... one, I think you're going to find a lot of honesty, but also you'll get that I guess it's going to sound like an insult, but it's not meant to be an insult. But you're going to find much more of that normie audience there. Meaning you're going to find people like me. You're going to find people in the Geeks and Gamers space, the fellowship space, right, of our mindsets in there. You'll find them. And what's great about Criticalist is that you can choose them to be in your what's called Friends with Benefits, which means you can basically curate your own personal list of people where, hey, I like these people. They give opinions that I often agree with. If I go to a movie's page, I can actually see what their specific average score is. So if the general audience score is one that you typically don't trust on Rotten Tomatoes or Letterboxd or wherever it might be, what's cool is that you can say, oh, I like this person, this person, this person. Let me see what they think. And you can put that up against it. So let's say the average audience score is like 90%, but then the people you trust who you've put into this category of Friends with Benefits has it at a 30%. You're like, oh, okay, clearly this may not be as good as what one would suspect. So I would go over Criticalist, and right now, Red One has a 53% decent score. So people are not raving about it. Even the more normie audience on Criticalist is not as fond of this movie. So that's 67 voters. It's another reason why I really enjoy it. You can then go through and see, okay, what are most people saying? Most people, we have a lot of rads, some decents, we have some boguses in there, a lot of decents, and really it's the decents that I think dominate the majority of the votes. And then for those that are rad, you can just kind of dive in and say, okay, well, why do they like this movie? What is it about it that they're enjoying? So, I've not seen it. I really have no desire for it for the very same reason that you do. And I would say based off of the Criticalist score, I don't think there's a lot really worth going to, a lot worth checking out there. I think there's better films that are worth watching. Kick and Rumsky saying, nothing wrong with that. Good memories are awesome, always. Let us see. Hardwig, do you plan to review Nosferatu? I need to see it first. So I will definitely have a Criticalist written review of the film, for sure. Video review, it's, again, I don't know. I just haven't felt as inspired to do the video reviews these days. It's kind of nice just sticking in with the box office as far as time is concerned. There's also like a lot of movies I still want to watch, so I can get a final best of list. And speaking of that, we'll make sure we get our current worst of list in just a second. Jimmy A, did I say, imagine for a moment if Paddington had a higher opening weekend than Captain America. I'm looking forward to Captain America, but I can never feel too sorry for Disney. Yeah, again, do I think that's going to happen? I don't. I do think that the marketing, Disney's going to spend so much on marketing that just a baseline amount of people will show up. It's not going to be a high number. It's going to be a very low MCU opening, but it's going to be enough, I think, to still beat out a movie like Paddington, right? Especially because Paddington's not going to have a lot of those Thursday evening shows, right? Whereas an MCU film typically does. MCU films in general, right, on average, have had big opening weekends, or at least, sizable compared to the rest of their release opening, and then a massive drop off. The Marvels being a great example of not being the case, right? Where it had a very, very bad opening weekend and then still had a massive drop off too. So I think it'll do better. If I had to guess, it's going to do better than the Marvels opening weekend. And then I think it's going to drop off it's going to drop off like a cliff, unless they somehow have magically made it into a good movie, and there's just no indication that is the case. So I don't think there's a lot of hope. I do not think. Geek364 says, I think I avoided most of the bad movies this year, surprisingly. Yeah, I typically try to. That's why there's some years where my list have movies that no one's ever seen or heard of. And it's because, these are the movies that you typically hear about and say, I don't want to watch that. There was a Disney film that came out a few years ago that I had on my worst of list. And I think I had it at the number 1 spot. And, everyone was like, what movie was that? It was so bad that I've even forgotten what it was. Anyone who's been watching the channel for a while, you might know why, or you might know what the movie is. But yeah. All right, let's go ahead and jump over to Criticalist then. And let's talk about some of the worst films of the year. So first, check me out over on Criticalist. I'm at OMB Reviews, Templar Odin. 315 reviews. So I do try to keep up to date with that as soon as I watch a movie to get reviewed. Recently, I've watched The Muppet Christmas Carol, which is phenomenal. right? A most excellent score there. Lego Batman movie. To me, the only good Lego movie. I know there's a lot of big fans of the Lego film, Lego Movie 2. Not me. Lego Batman movie is a lot of fun though. 7.5, 75% rad. Peanuts movie is actually a really good, like for a film that came out in 2015 of a classic cartoon, surprisingly good. Not a huge fan of Sonic, I'm gonna be honest. But this is how my relationship has been with the Sonic franchise. I come out of it every time and say, you know what? If you're a kid, like my nephew, you're going to love it. If you are a hardcore fan of the games, I think there's also a good argument to see why you will also love that. But just not me. Just not for me. I find a lot of problems with it, a lot of issues with it. And again, that's just my own thoughts. So a decent score there. But still Mufasa. For anyone who's like, oh, you're shilling for Mufasa saying it's going to make money. It's like, no. Don't get me wrong. I think the movie's terrible. The film was heinous. And again, it's less to do with the quality of the movie and more to do with just the, again, fact that none of it is even needed. So not even going to try to give away or try to hold off any suspense here any longer since we are towards the end of the show. So currently, and again, this list can easily change. I have not updated this list since I added Mufasa, in fact. But my current list of the worst films of the year are Mufasa, Lion King, a movie that did not need to be made, forgettable music, and really, honestly, I hope the last time Disney tries a photorealistic, quote, live-action adaptation of any of their properties. Again, yes, you could argue it looks so real, okay? It also still, Uncanny Valley effect, looks fake and is therefore a waste of money and a waste of time. So save your money, save your time, never watch Mufasa ever. And this movie still has a higher chance of losing money than not, but it's just abysmal. Another film I did not like, Horizon American Saga Chapter 1, a boring movie that is very poorly paced, very poorly put together, poorly edited. If it had been a series, probably would have done better in many ways. And I really don't want to continue the franchise. It got delayed. Chapter 1 got picked up by Netflix because of how much of a flop it was theatrically. And then Netflix decided to delay it, I think, until next summer. So finally, Chapter 2 comes out next year in 2025. I really just don't care for this series at all. And one of the reasons why it's on my worst of list is because it was one of the biggest disappointments. If anything, it's not that this movie is as bad as Joker 2 or as bad as Mufasa. It's more of this was like the biggest disappointment for me because I had a lot of high hopes going into it. There were a lot of good things, and there's people that like it too. For me, I had too many issues with some of those technical elements. Not as much, of course, though, as with Joker 2, which just was a giant spitting in the face of fans. Which just really, honestly, always disgusts me when studios do that, when directors do that. And that's what Joker 2 was. Objectively speaking, the movie actually is not terrible. I think that some people kind of go a little too harsh on it in that way. I think that cinematography is actually pretty good. I think that all those design elements are good too. The issue is the writing. The issue is especially that turn that happens in that courtroom scene. Because you have this actor on the stand who's actually giving a really good performance. And then you have the character moment of Arthur Fleck now all of a sudden, becoming a complete, you insert your own gamer words there, right? And, kind of embracing this almost incel personality, right? And it is really jarring. And it was clearly done for the reasons as they did not like the fact that people liked the first movie for the reasons that they did. People did not like the fact that they associated themselves with Arthur Fleck, not because they thought he was a good guy. No one thought he was a good guy. No one thought he was in the right, but people said, I get it. I get why someone like that can go crazy and can act the way that he does, right? But man, oh man, talk about a fall from grace, right? This is probably going to be higher on my list because this is a film that should have been amazing and ended up being awful. Lord of the Rings, War of the Rohirrim, I haven't even finished it yet. I'm going to be honest, upfront about it, because man, it's just like, first off, it's like, okay, this is not Tolkien. I don't care how many elements of Tolkien are in this, but you have a character that I believe didn't even have a name in the appendices is the lead in a show. Okay, animation looks okay, I guess, but I was very much bored by it. Did not care about any of it. The voice acting, mostly uninspired. Trap, M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong, another film from him. And I think the biggest mistake he made was having the trailer tell you what, in my opinion, is the biggest twist of the movie. And it could have been a really cool thing to unravel by a better writer-director. Trap really is not a good movie because it is nothing more than an opportunity for M. Night Shyamalan to have his daughter give a concert. It really honestly felt like, hey, my daughter is a pop star. My daughter wants to be a big pop star. I'm going to go ahead and give her the venue to do that. And then I'll have a movie and narrative surrounding it. That's what Trap is. It's a waste of time. Gladiator 2 also, oh man, can't remember anything about it because the characters are so uninspired. I remember none of their names, nothing that happened. I fell asleep multiple times, had to go back, rewatch a couple things too. And yeah, came out way too many decades too late and not worth the time at all. And not surprising to see this movie cost as much as it did, but then also lose as much as it did. Currently, my number 2 spot is with Madam Web. Even though there are a lot of reasons for us to have fun with Madam Web in the similar way that we can have fun with other films, Morbius, it's Morbid time, right? I think there's a lot of funny moments. Don't do dumb things. It's my favorite line from the movie. It's still a bad movie, objectively speaking. So one of the worst films of the year, no doubt about it. Still giant waste of time. But in my opinion, none of these movies, not a single one of them is worse than my current number 1. And I'm now remembering this list. And so, yeah, this is going to stay at number 1 because it's awful. That's Rebel Moon Part 2, The Scargiver. I hate everything that this dude has done with cinema for a long time now, but this is probably the worst cinema I have ever seen in my life. Critic List is very, very generous, giving it a bogus score, right? A 27% bogus score. There are just, unfortunately, way too many Zack Snyder fanboys out there that just eat up everything he does. I am very happy that I was sick the week that on FNT we had to watch the extended editions of this one, because I don't think I could have survived the extended edition of this movie. I just, man, Zack Snyder needs to stop making movies. I've said this several times before. I think what he needs to do is he needs to go off into an isolated part of the world and make movies for himself that never see the light of day. That would make me the happiest person in the world. But yeah, Rebel Moon Part 2, Scargiver, worst film of 2024. And there are some other movies that are probably going to move up and down my list. Again, I think Joker 2 is definitely going to move up that list for sure. But I don't think anything's going to knock off Rebel Moon. It was really, really bad. All right, let's get into some last comments, and then we'll pick our winners for the giveaway. So let's see. Tina B. Well, Cameron needs 3D for his Avatar movies. I think he will make you like them. That's why he keeps making them. Man, You all know my thoughts on Avatar. Carl Jacobs, why do you think Brave New World will lose more than Snow White? Because of budgets. Snow White, I think, cost a lot, but I don't think anything is going to cost as much. Brave New World could be the most expensive film ever. It has that potential. Mr. Shaggins, Jaws 3D is still the worst 3D I've ever seen aside from Shark Boy and Lava Girl. Oh, that's a throwback. Shark Boy and Lava Girl. Good grief. Geek364. 3D is a matter of preference. Most movies don't look great in 3D, but a few good Blu-ray 3Ds are Pacific Rim, Dread, Tron Legacy, and Tintin. I just did not like Tintin. The animation capture stuff just didn't look right. It bothered me a lot. But I just, you need a 3D TV and a 3D player. 3D players aren't as difficult to find because a lot of it just have them built in, but the TV aspect of it, I just don't see how it's worth it. Like, not only theatrically, but then especially on home video release. Again, I don't deny that the quality might not actually be there, but it's just to me, 3D is such a gimmick. It's not like IMAX where you actually can see the objective difference between one and the other, right? When you have the addition of shooting a movie on film versus digital, those are things you can see and understand more clearly. Whereas 3D, it's like it really doesn't do much as far as adding anything. Because if the whole thing is, it's going to create a more immersive experience, movies by their nature are meant to be immersive. They've been immersive. Remember, there was a time when one of the first movies that was seen by a theater of people was The Train, right? Where the train was arriving at the station and they thought the train was going to hit them. And we think about how bad, in comparison, technology would have been back then to what it is today. And we're supposed to believe that 3D is that which is going to actually make things immersive. It's just, to me, it's his way of saying, I can't actually create a great movie story, so I'm going to trick you with beautiful imagery. And some people, I think, buy into it. King and Rumsky, time to say, what did Banjo Sandwich give for a rating of Red 1? I'll let you take a guess. I imagine it's going to be a 50 or less. Jimmy A, I predict 40-70 million for Cap's opening weekend, but I could be wrong since it's so early. It's way too early to predict, but that sounds about right to me. Cthulhu, what's your honest thoughts about the remake of Running Man? I'm horrified considering the remake of Total Recall being so abysmal. Yeah, I mean, in general, my standard position is if it's a remake of a classic, it's not going to be good. However, there are always going to be the chances for a good version, right? Dread. Not necessarily a direct remake, but rebooting that franchise, a re-envisioning of that franchise was phenomenal. I mean, I think that there's definitely a good argument to be made that the Carl Urban Dredd is a better movie compared to Judge Dredd. Now, there might be some in the chat who would say, never, heresy, but I think that there's definitely an argument there. Mrs. Wingster says, I'm out. If I win, I give it to Tina. That's not how this works. The Peanuts movie was a solid adaptation. Most people just memory hold it, unfortunately. My son just discovered it actually over this Christmas, and he's obsessed. He is obsessed with it, and it got him to watch the original cartoons, and he is now in love. Short, everyone have a nice evening. Good to chat with you all, indeed. Let's see. Hardwick DVDs still look really good when upscaled on a good 4K disc player. There have been some where I forgot I was watching DVD instead of a Blu-ray. I think you need to get eyes checked, dude. I'm going to be honest there. Tina B, a lot of people liked Horizon, but hate that I had such an open-ended conclusion, which isn't even a conclusion. Jimmy A, Pilot from South Korea is another one of the worst movies this year, in my opinion. I get that humor doesn't translate overseas, but it was really cringe to me. Frank G, how late? You missed it. Tina B, now I'm thankful that I didn't get overly excited about the first one. I just liked the first one. I knew there was others that loved it, so let this be a lesson to you kiddies. Yeah, Tina B, a new Joker 2 would be a mess. But greenlit too quickly. Didn't seem to be for didn't seem for the rights resold. So you bet that blah blah blah. There is no Gladiator 2. How dare you? Yes, we all know how you feel about Gladiator. Rebel Moon is making quite a few worst of the year. Yeah, it's really bad, Tina. Jimmy A, for me, Morbius and Madam Web aren't anywhere near in quality. Morbius was a fun, action-packed, guilty pleasure. For me, Madam Web was more like Midim Web. Interesting. Wendy Hunter, agree with you completely on your worst number one. Appreciate that. VJ, Vigilant Guitarist. First time you've seen Rebel Moon on a list? I don't believe that. Jimmy A, Rebel Moon sounds like a farm kid trying to come up with the name for the emo rock album. Hardaway Adventure Tinted is underrated. Some more realistic looking characters look slightly off, but it's easy to ignore. The stylized look of Captain Haddock looks great. I hate it. No. I don't think it's underrated at all. Cthulhu, the problem with 3D is that you need to wear glasses instead of it being artistic elements like Dread accomplished. It's a good point. Jimmy A, IMAX, in my opinion, is only good if a movie is shot. Agreed. Dolby Cinema is superior to all. I think that Dolby is the best that I have seen for sure. All right, let's go ahead and pick some winners tonight. So again, you will have to claim your prize. Let me go ahead and close the giveaway. The giveaway is now closed. You'll have to be here to claim your prize. If you do not claim your prize, we will choose another winner. No gifting. All right, we've had that problem in the past, and it just is a nightmare to count down. But the options tonight are, we only have one copy of each, is we've got Dazed and Confused, the 4K Criterion Collection Edition, which is a great edition there. We've also got a Blu-ray of How to Kitty, which is actually one of my favorite films. It's just phenomenal. Great Japanese film. Masaka Kobayashi, Tatsuya Nakadai, one of his best performances, I think. And then Princess Bride on 4K, Criterion Collection Edition. So let's go ahead and pick our winners this evening. So our first winner this evening is Master of Gaming. Congratulations, Master of Gaming. Claim your prize. Claim your prize, good sir. and then let me know which one of those 3 you want to take off the table. And I need to find my pencil so I can write down our winners. So, Master of Gaming, claim your prize. Princess Bride. All right, Princess Bride has been taken by Master of Gaming. So, Master of Gaming, please make sure that you reach out, email. So, again, 2 emails. You could either email ombvlog@gmail.com or ombReviews@proton.me. Just to clarify, if you've won before, I always forget who's won before. If you've won before and your address is the same, just say, hey, check the last time I sent you an email with that, and it's still the same, and I can easily find that. If not, though, give me an updated address. So, again, either odinsmovievlog@gmail.com or ombReviews@proton.me. So, congratulations, Master of Gaming. Princess Bride has been taken. All right, so our next winner is going to be Caveat Ties. Caveat Ties. Claim your prize. Caveat Ties. Claim your prize. Caveat Ties. Do we have a Caveat Ties to claim the prize? Do we have a Caveat Ties to claim the prize? Are they still here? Same thing. Again, if you are one of the winners tonight, to just make sure you reach out. I wanted Brides as Caveat Ties. Well, you still have 2 great options. Again, great Japanese film, Harakiri. Again, phenomenal movie. Don't sleep on that one. And then Dazed and Confused, a classic. And this is the 4K special edition. Director approved 4K Blu-ray special edition features as well. Again, I think that both are excellent movies. Yes. Harakiri. You will not be upset. Especially, unless you hate Japanese cinema, you're going to really like the film. It's a phenomenal movie. It's a phenomenal release. Don't like Days. Caveat Ties. Sorry about that. All right. And our last winner of the night is Thanatos Felicitas. Congratulations, Thanatos Felicitas. So, do you actually want to claim the last film available, which is Dazed and Confused on 4K? If not, I can click the winner and click another winner. Again, there's no gifting, but if you want it, yes, I do. All right, perfect. So Dazed and Confused, fantastic. So congratulations to Master of Gaming, Caveat Ties, and Thanatos Felicitas for winning tonight's giveaways. You guys are awesome. For those that did not win, thank y'all still for entering in. And shout out to all of the persons that super chatted tonight to get us to be able to do our celebration of Criterion. And I love doing these giveaways. I hope to be able to do more in the future now that we have the whole goals thing. If people are like, oh, why are you putting the giveaways behind paywall? It's not trying to do that. It's more of it helps to offset shipping cost because I don't mind shipping anywhere in the world. I just had to send Gary Banjo Sandwich Worthington a Blu-ray. And it's not crazy. It's like $20 of shipping, but still. It helps to cover costs. And so that's one of the reasons why I've done it, is that it helps to, I think, make things a bit more fun here on the channel. Helps to, I think, gamify it a little bit. And I got so many things and so many movies to give away. But I also want to make sure that I'm able to cover those costs too. So again, I do appreciate y'all for playing along, and I think it's going to be fun. All right, let's get some last comments and then head out. And again, last thing, if you're a winner, if you have the same address, just let me know, same address. If you have a different address, please just make sure you email me. Or if you've never won, odinsmovievlog@gmail.com, which is my main email, or ombReviews@proton.me is also another option as well. And then just let me know your shipping, and I will send it your way. You do not have to give me your real name. But again, obviously I keep that information private. I don't share the information with anybody. I don't sell anyone's information for ads or anything like that. So Hardwick, the new Running Man movie is being directed by Edgar Wright. It also might be based directly on the original Stephen King story instead of a very different Schwarzenegger movie. Yeah, that's why a lot of people, I think, have a lot of hope and hype for it. I think there's a good reason to. It's probably the one that I had the most excitement for as far as adaptations are concerned, because of all the things you mentioned. Harvey says, to be clear, I said some DVDs look almost great upscaled, some don't. And again, I would say that some, there still have a major difference there. Wendy Hunter says, Odin and chats, have a good night and thanks for the great stream. Wendy, thank you for being here tonight. Went a little bit longer tonight, but Key Truth was saying, I agree with you on Tintin. I really like that movie. Gary Benjamin was saying, have a great New Year's. You as well. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Cthulhu, when is Criterion releasing the Twilight Collector's Edition? Whenever that is, I'm sure Shad will be the first one on it. Harakiri, it's fantastic. Yes. Yeah. Harakiri is indeed phenomenal. So good. Such great tension building. And Nakadai is such a great actor. And I love it. Says, following the collapse of his clan, an unemployed samurai arrives at the manor of Lord Iggy, begging to be allowed to commit ritual suicide on the property. Again, it's just, that's your starting point, and then the story unravels, and it's so good. Japanese cinema, I tell you, so underrated. TW says, yay, I don't win. I didn't mean to enter the anyway. UK cost $1 billion. 20 isn't too bad. Hardwick says, wait, why would it cost $20 to send one Blu-ray? It usually costs me only 4 or so. Because if you're sending it internationally, Hardwick, it costs more. So no, covering costs for domestic, that's not that bad. Because yeah, media mail domestic is great. It's like as you mentioned, $3 to $4. But international, it's a lot. And also, there's the other issue where, hey, it may not get to the person because of customs and all the nonsense that you have to go through. In fact, I'm holding on to someone had entered in for the rosaries that I give away, and it got sent back. And there's just markings on here that don't tell me exactly what got wrong. I emailed the person has not emailed me back. So that was, again, this was also about $20, just gone. So yeah, again, it's something where I again don't mind doing it. I love sending it anywhere across the world. But sometimes it is a tricky thing. And those costs can fluctuate too, depending on what it is. Cthulhu, thank you for a great night and wish you all the best. Cthulhu, thank you for being here too. Frank G, did you ever give away your beloved copy of The Woman King? Oh, that's right. I forgot that they actually sent me that movie. Tina B, time to take my prescriptions. Hey, have a good night, Tina. Geek Truth, the Blu-rays of Twilight Zone already look great. Oh, no. Twilight Zone is phenomenal. They were talking about the Twilight movies. Caveat ties, yes. OMB Reviews, the name of the channel. OMB Reviews at proton.me. So Proton email. So OMB Reviews at proton.me, or Odin's Movie Blog, which is the older name of the channel, at gmail.com. I think the OMB Reviews at Proton is easier to remember, at proton.me, the letters M and E. And yeah, so a long stream tonight, but I do want to give a shout out to Westfield60, Orange Chat, Forever Sci-Fi, Caveat Ties, Cthulhu, Geek True 64, and Mrs. Wingster for their super chats and donations tonight. This has been great, Jimmy A. Next time you need to give away a documentary on the sub-Saharan African. Yeah. Oh man. Geek True 64. Oh no, Twilight Criterion. What weirdo wants those? Must be Australia or something. Exactly. His name is Shad. That's the only one who would want that. But anyway, I do appreciate y'all for hanging out with me tonight. And tomorrow is indeed New Year's Eve, but we are still in the midst of Christmas, everybody. So I hope everyone continues to have a very merry and blessed Christmas. Again, keep saying it up until the Feast of the Epiphany on January 6th. And on Wednesday, on January 1st, we have a very special feast also, as we are entering into a new year. And we are entering into... again, I always get a little bit confused because of the new and old calendars. So it is the Solemnity of the Blessed Virgin Mary, Holy Mother of God in the new calendar, and then it's the octave day of the Nativity in the traditional calendar. And it is a great week, a lot of great feast to celebrate. And I think a great time to be alive as we're entering into a brand new year. I hope to watch even more movies. I hope to be able to continue to help Criticless get along, because I think that it's such an amazing platform. And be on the lookout there for reviews of films like Nosferatu. I plan on seeing that as soon as I can. I was going to see it tomorrow, and then I'm like, oh, wait, I can't. It's New Year's Eve. I totally forgot. It's like, oh, my first free night is going to be New Year's Eve. So probably we'll see that sometime on Wednesday evening, maybe. I think there might be a Christian panel this week. I'm not sure. But for sure, we'll see it by Thursday, Friday, because kids go back to school, or at least the babies, they go back to school Thursday, Friday of this week. So I'll have some time during the day to get some of that stuff done. So anyway, I love you guys from the bottom of my heart. I hope everyone has had an amazing 2024, has an amazing 2025, has a blessed New Year's celebration. Be safe, of course. Watch some great films, and be on the lookout for an Oscars screw the Oscars, a Ravens nomination form very, very soon. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. Have a wonderful rest of your night, and as always, God bless. Now for a huge special shout out to all of my Chosen of Valhalla members, starting off first with my people on Patreon, Father Luca Illich and Miss Martin Muses. Check out her YouTube channel by the same name, Miss Martin Muses. Also to my Subscribestar people, Matt317. Check out his Twitch channel by the same name, Matt317. And also to the K-Man. Check out his website, xtheboundaries.co. And lastly to my YouTube member, Mr. Roy. Shout out to you, good sir. And if you want your name shouted out at the end of every live stream and video, check out the top link in the video description below where you get access to that. Also, you get access to a plethora of other things. You get your name listed at the end of every live stream and video, like you saw in those names that came up before this video started. And also access to a giveaways channel that I host over on the Discord server where I give away 4Ks, Steelbooks, Blu-rays, all kinds of stuff. So check that out if you're interested in that. Also, I have an exclusive podcast that I hold at least once a month, and it's always a good time, and you get extra bonus content with that also. So if any of that sounds interesting, again, check out that top link in the video description below. You guys are all amazing, and beautiful people. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and as always, God bless.